Today, I'm going to be covering one of the most slept on champions in the game, and that's going to be Soraka. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to be playing her to her maximum potential and how to maximize the value that you get out of each and every one of her skills and how to build her, because a lot of people are building her wrong, and there's a secret item that I have discovered that is really insane on Soraka, but not a lot of people are building it, and that's why they think Soraka is weak. So be sure to watch the build section of the video. I'll also be going over her runes and spells, and then I'm going to be going over her matchups. What champions do you want to pick her into? What champions do you want to avoid playing Soraka into? And how you're going to be playing against certain champions, certain supports, and certain ADCs. So that's all going to be covered in this video, as well as a few tips and tricks at the end. So I highly recommend watching the entire things. However, timestamps are going to be on the screen right now, just in case you want to skip around, but I highly recommend watching the entire video. So if you guys are excited, then hit the like button and subscribe, because these videos do take a while to make. So if you do enjoy them, subscribing takes around 2 seconds, and if you do that, it will help the algorithm recommend this video to more people, and it'll also let me know that you enjoyed this video so I can produce more quality content for you guys. So with that being said, thank you so much, and let's get straight into the video. Alright, so first off, we're going to be going over Soraka's abilities, and Soraka's first skill will basically hit any enemy champions in a small AoE radius, and it will deal damage in that area. And if she hits an enemy champion, the enemy champion will be slowed, and Soraka will be gaining rejuvenation, which will basically heal her health over the next 4 seconds. So how it looks like is like that, and then after that I'm going to be healing up for a bit. So this really helps Soraka out with poke in the laning phase, as well as helps her just have a little bit more sustain as well if she's able to hit it during the laning phase. As you can see, she has 4 seconds of regen after hitting an enemy champion. So it's a really useful skill just to deal some poke and some slow. It'll also be a larger radius. If you heal up an ally champion 3 times, you're going to be gaining stacks on this skill, and then it's going to grow in size. So after that, we have Soraka's second skill, and this one will just heal an ally for a specific amount of health, but it will take off of some of your health. So this skill also gives your ally rejuvenation if you heal them while you have your passive from your first skill. So if you have your passive from your first skill and you give it to an ally, they're also going to be having that passive, and they're going to be healing up in the next few seconds as well. So it's a really good skill just for more sustain in lane, but it's also important to note that it's going to take some of your health. So if your ally really doesn't need it, for example, if they're already full HP or they only have a tiny bit of poke, then it's probably not worth it to give them your skill unless you guys are going for a trade and you've already hit your first skill. So it's really important that you use your first skill and second skill in tandem, and you use them to complement each other and really heal up your ally. Also, this skill has an insane cooldown later into the game where you can just constantly heal up your allies, so it becomes really OP in the late game, and it's super slept on, so just keep that in mind as well. After that, we have Soraka's second ability. It will deal damage when it comes out, and after a few seconds it will root any enemy champions in that area. This skill is really great for chain CC if the enemy target is already rooted or already stunned or something like that, or they're inside a choke point. Putting this there is going to help deal a bit of damage as well as CC them again, especially if they're in something like Hourglass, or if they're stunned already. Then yeah, this skill is always going to root, and it's just a great ability for that reason. Lastly, we have Soraka's ultimate, which will heal all allies on the battlefield, and this will heal them for even more HP if they are low in health. If they're below 35% in HP, it's going to heal them even more. So it's really great to have good map awareness with Soraka and look at what's going on the map. Usually in the top left corner over there, you're going to be seeing your allies' health bars. It's good to keep track of that and really know how much health your allies have, just in case you can turn the tides of a fight just by using your ultimate. And I've done this so many times before, where I'll see something in top lane where they're having a skirmish, and then you can use your ultimate to turn it around. And it's one of the most valuable ultimates in team fights if used properly. So always keep that in mind, and you'll get better at using it once you've used it a few times and you know what it does. Then you're going to be getting better and better at using this ability the more experience that you get on Soraka. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over Soraka's combos, and the first combo that you need to know with Soraka is going to be her in-lane poke combo, and this is going to be using her first skill first to slow the enemy down, and then using your third skill behind them so that they can't escape, or if they're trying to escape, then they're going to be slowed and it's going to be behind them, so it's going to be very hard for them to escape. And then after they're rooted, you can follow up with an auto attack. So it's using your first skill, third skill, and then auto attacking just like that. And if you want to, while you have your first skill hit on them, you can actually use your heal onto your allied champion. Usually you do it after your auto attack because you don't want to be wasting any time, and just like that you're going to be having you and your ally being healed, and also your enemy taking a bit of poke. You can also be using this combo a bit defensively. Let's say you're running away from your target and you've hit them, and now you want to place it in front of them. That way they can't come towards you, and if they do, then they're going to be rooted, and you can peel like that. So you can use your first skill and then your your third skill in front of them. That way, if they're trying to chase you down, then you're just going to be able to root them and peel for your ally. So the second combo that you need to know is pretty similar, and Soraka doesn't have a lot of combos, and it's mainly just these two combos in lane, but I'm going to be covering how to play her in team fights a bit later, and there's some key tips and tricks later in the video about team fighting, so be sure to watch till then. But if you are in lane, then this is the other combo that you're going to be using. You're going to be using your third skill first to zone them, and then put down your first skill. And it's pretty simple combo. Soraka is a pretty simple champion to play. You don't need a lot of skill to play her, but if you do something like this, it's going to be very hard for your enemy to dodge. So you need to see where they avoid going. For example, they're going to avoid going back, and then you're going to use your first skill a little bit in front. Or if they're already rooted, let's say they were in a choke point and they were trying to avoid some other skill shots, they accidentally got rooted, and then you can hit them with your first skill. So those are the two main combos you're going to be using in lane. Again, Soraka isn't one of those champions that has super complicated combos. She's a pretty easy champion to play, but her team fighting is a little bit more complex. So we're going to be going over that later into the guide. And so with that, let's get straight into her build. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over Soraka's build, and there are two secret items that you need to build on Soraka and that are absolutely broken, that not a lot of people are building and aren't included in the default build. So I'm going to be going over first the high elo build, and then I'm going to be going over some adjustments that you can make if you are playing in low elo, which most of you guys are. So if you guys are playing in high elo, the most broken item that you can go on Soraka, the two most broken items that you can go on Soraka, is first Rod of Ages. Now, no one builds this item for some reason. Everyone just loves rushing Harmonic Echo or Ardent Sensor, both of which are viable items. However, if your enemy rushes anti-heal, then Harmonic Echo is going to be absolutely useless in the early game and during the laning phase. So don't buy Harmonic Echo, instead go Rod of Ages. This will give you a lot more scaling, AP, max health, and max mana, and this will scale as the game goes, which means Soraka will get more and more powerful as the game goes if you have this item, and will allow her to compete with some of the other enchanter mages later into the game. And the second broken item that you can also rush is Warmog's Armor. Now, nobody builds this item, however, it's just so OP on Soraka. You gain so much regen and so much max health and ability haste with this item, as well as you get a lot of health regen, which means that you're not going to die. You can heal up your allies as much as you possibly want to, and you're not going to run out of HP, as well as you're going to be a bit more tanky. So of her build goes as follows. You want to be building a pretty normal boot item. You can either go Locket or Redemption, I personally like Redemption. This game that you're watching, I actually got 2 kills with the Redemption enchant. I'll actually put them right now. Hopefully I edited it in. But yeah, Redemption is a great item, not just for getting solo kills, but also in team fights. The other items that you can go are Locket, as I already said, and you can go Shadows if you like that enchant. I personally don't like that enchant. The boot under it, you can go Merc Treads or Steel Caps if the enemy team has one type of damage, AD or AP. I cover that in every video, and I also have an itemization guide. If you guys have no idea what I'm saying, you guys can go watch that video. I go a little bit more in depth into itemization and the basics of it if you guys are confused. So I'll leave a link to that at the top right corner right now, and I'll leave a link in the description as well as a card at the end of the video. Also can recommend for you Boots of Swiftness if the enemy team doesn't have one type of damage and you want to roam a bit more. This is really great if you're in low elo or if you're not doing with an ADC. If you trust your ADC, it's better to go for the Lucidity Boots, which will give you cooldown reduction. After that, you can go for your 2 support items, usually Ardent Sensor and Harmonic Echo. And lastly, you can go for a situational item. I like actually going Rabadon's Death Cap just to boost your AP and boost the damage on your abilities as well as your heal. However, it's pretty much up to you what you want to go. A lot of people like going for Awakened Soul Stealer, which does reduce your ultimate cooldown. However, I think it's a little bit too late into the game to get that item, and you can go for something like Morlanomicon if the enemy team has a lot of healing, or as I already said, Rabadon's Death Cap. If you are playing in low elo, chances are your opponents are not going to be buying anti-heal. So you're going to exploit that to the max by rushing Harmonic Echo. And then after that, if you have an attack speed ADC, you can also go Ardent Sensor. If you have someone like Jinx or Kaisa, you can even rush this as your first item. So either go Harmonic Echo or Ardent Sensor, but build both of those items. After that, go for your boot enchant. I recommend going either a defense boot, the same ones that I recommended in high elo. After that, you can go for Athene's Unholy Grail, or if your opponents are not building anti-heal, you can go for Spirit Visage, which is an absolutely broken item against AP. And if your enemy isn't building anti-heal, the increased amount of heal you get from this item will be absolutely insane and absolutely broken. And also tell your team to build this item if you have a Fiora, if you have anyone who can go off of healing, then tell them to build this item. Because combined with Soraka, and if the enemy team doesn't have anti-heal, oh my gosh, you guys are going to be absolutely broken. After that, you can go for Athene's Unholy Grail, and after that you can go for a situational item. You can either go for a defense item like I stated before, Rabadon's Death Cap for more AP, or Zeke's Conversions if they have mixed damage, and Protector's Vow if you need a bit more armor. So those are Soraka's build. I know it might seem weird to build Rod of Ages and Warmog's armor, but trust me, late game those items are going to just absolutely carry, and it's just so OP in high elo, and people are sleeping on this champion. So you guys can go out there with this new build and crush before Riot does something to this champion. After that, you can go for your runes. For her runes, I highly recommend going Airy as her first rune. You can also go Electrocute if you're going something off meta like Soraka mid. However, I wouldn't really recommend it. After that, you can go for Weakness, or you can go for Brutal. And you're going to be going for Brutal if you want some more early game poke, or Weakness if you want some late game team fight with that root and with that slow. For your third rune, I usually go Second Wind for more sustain. And for her last rune, you can either go for Pathfinder or Hunter Genius. Pathfinder if you're playing in low elo, and Hunter Genius if you're playing in higher elo, because you're going to be roaming a lot more in lower elo because your ADC will have no idea what they're doing. After that, for her spells, you can go for either Flash Heal or Flash Exhaust. Those are just the standard spells that you're going to be going on most enchanter supports and most supports in general, actually. So those are going to be your spells. And now I'm going to be going over some of Soraka's matchups as well as tips and tricks for this champion. So now I'm going to be going over Soraka's matchups. Which champions do you want to play her in, and which matchups do you want to avoid as a Soraka, as well as my best tips for Soraka in teamfights. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. The first matchup that you want to be considering picking Soraka in is actually into other enchanter supports, because Soraka can outpoke a lot of enchanter supports and has that passive on her first skill as well as the heal on her second skill to survive a lot of poke. She's going to be really scary for the enemy champions and really annoying for them as well. So picking her into Enchanter supports, even into Lux or Sona, is still a good idea because you can outpoke them if you play her right, as well as you have that sustain in lane with your first skill and second skill for your ally. So the matchups that she struggles against are either hook champions like Blitzcrank, or champions that can engage onto you like Alistair or Leona are a bit more scary than Enchanter supports. But if they're playing a tank like Braum, then you can get a lot of free poke onto them and they're not as scary. So those are the matchups that Soraka can go into, and so you don't want to be picking her into engage supports. But even if you do, as long as you learn to avoid their skill shots, it's not going to be too bad of a problem. And as long as you have good map awareness and you're not getting ganked and chain CC'd, it will be completely fine. But keep that in mind if you're playing in high elo. It's going to be a little bit harder playing her into engage supports or Blitzcrank, which just has that hook, and if you get hooked, it's going to be hard to survive. So after that, we can go over my tips and tricks for Soraka. And the first tip I want to give to you for Soraka is going to be in teamfights. Now in teamfights, Soraka has a lot of different skills, but none of them are useless, and I'm talking about none of them. Some champions, they will not be using some of their skills in team fights, or they're just going to be waiting for the right time. However, with Soraka, you're going to be spamming all of your skills, and except for your third skill, which you can silence people with, you're going to be using your first skill and second skill constantly, using your redemption enchant. You're going to be using your ult, and you're going to be using them as soon as they come up for either poke or for heal, and that's going to really turn the tides of battle. You don't need to wait to use your abilities. Just use them when you can, except for your ult and your third skill. The second tip I have for you is with your third skill. It's a really great ability to silence enemies if they are playing an assassin like Zed. If you silence them and they are inside your little circle, they're not going to be able to blink away, or if they're playing Fizz, they're not going to be able to jump. So just keep that in mind. It's also a great ability for silencing junglers. Let's say there is a smite fight, but the enemy jungler got silenced. Then your jungler is going to have a free smite, and it's going to be really easy for them to secure the dragon. So keep those types of things in mind when you play Soraka. Silence, it is one of the more, I don't know, people sleep on this CC, but if you use it properly, it can be absolutely OP. Like, for example, just like I said, if you are able to use your third skill on the jungler, then what are they gonna do? Can they smite the dragon? No. They're just going to be just sitting there, and your jungler can secure every single objective. So keep that in mind as well. It's absolutely broken, so abuse this while you can. The last ability that I have a tip for is her ultimate. Now her ultimate is an amazing ability, and it's the best if you use it right. If you use this ultimate right, it's probably the most bang for your buck ability in the entire game. You can turn around an entire team fight. Think of it as your entire team is low, and once you press that ultimate, the tables have turned. All your allies are back to a decent amount of HP, and you're going to be able to chase the enemies out of there. So keep that in mind. Also, have good map awareness. Keep your allies' health bars in mind. Know when they're low. Know when you can use it to turn the tides of battle, not just in your own lane or in your own fight. Look at top lane. Is there a gank going on? Is there a turret dive? Can you use it to help your ally escape, or can you use it to help your ally dive or something like that? Then just keep that in mind as well with her ultimate. So those are my tips and tricks with Soraka. I hope this guide helped you. If it did, leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel, and these videos do take a long time to produce. I was moving, but now I have moved into the new house, so I should be able to produce videos a bit more frequently. So thank you guys for sticking around for this long. Also, there is a new Discord server. It doesn't have a good name yet, so if you guys have any good names for the Discord server, leave that in the description down below. But with that out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon. Bye!